pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, trustee Simpson. Present. Trustee Carville.
Here.
Trustee LeBeer.
Here.
I am present, and trustee Winston is excused, she is on a family vacation. I entertain a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes for May 31st and June 21st.
So moved.
Moved by trustee LeBeer, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Simpson. Any additions, deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I am running a bit behind, so I do not have the final projections done for May 31st yet. I'm hoping that I can start working on year end in the next couple of weeks. Just got very behind with everything that's going on in the office with Lisa leaving and replacing and trying to train, so running behind. So the interim, I did run the interim numbers for 21-22, at least the budget report, to get these actual numbers, but I don't have the projections actually caught up yet. And I don't have the July budget projections. I thought I did, but I do not have those for you yet either, so I haven't given those to you. I should have them probably in the next couple days. The rescue squad summary is down at the bottom part of that. That I've changed that now instead of year to date. Now that we've started a new fiscal year, I put in there to start going by fiscal year to keep track of everything. So this is fiscal year as of right now through July.
How did we close out for the prior year for rescue, do you know?
Don't know. No, I haven't done accrual yet, nothing. So obviously I have not done the AUD yet. I still need to do closing entries, line payroll. There's a number of entries that I have to do before I can even start the AUDs. So I'm again working on that in the next couple, 3 weeks, trying to get that caught up. Number 5, through the close of business through 8/12, we collected just over $6 million in property taxes. It's about 88.5% towards the total adjusted warrant of $6,792,589. Same time last year was about 91.39, but those numbers are kind of skewed a little bit because we have the re-levies in there this year for water that weren't there last year, so that kind of skews the numbers some. We're going to continue to collect until the end of September. I'm doing the second notice right now to try and get those mailed out to everybody that has not paid anything yet, so those will be going out here probably by the end of the week. Number 6, sales tax for the fourth quarter, which is accrued to our fiscal year 21-22, is in the amount of $545,457. That is a $42,000 decrease compared to last year's same quarter, about 7.5% reduction. Overall, though, for the whole year, we brought in $2,206,951. That's an overall increase of $52,000 and change, about 2.44% from the previous year in total. We budgeted $2,025,000, so we are to the good $181,951 for the year. I have no idea where the trend is going. I think everybody was kind of surprised a bit with this last quarter, so we'll find out what the next quarter brings.
Excuse me, do you think that now that the money's run out, that there's all the free money people were getting, buying like crazy?
I think a lot of the stimulus,
slowed down and
yep, stimulus has dried up to where people aren't doing the spending, and now with the inflation the way it's going, they're cutting back on the discretionary that they can. I think another part of this too, they said, I did read an article that talked about how the gas tax being reduced is obviously going to reduce the taxes that you receive too. So on top of that, I think it's making it even more of a reduction. We made the bond payment July 15th for the sidewalk plow. The bond is scheduled to mature July of 2025, so we got a few years to go. And now we have some action items for budget amendments for the couple different departments. First one's for the fire department, requesting to transfer $32,512 from the rescue squad equipment account budget to the capital purchases fund budget, which is in the 700 fund for the down payment of the new ambulance. So I think the foreman can speak more to it, but he's kind of cut back on some spending in the
Yeah,
ambulance
that's
budget
what we
in order to
between-
cover that down payment.
Yeah, between the purchase of these monitors on the payment plan and cutting back a couple other items that we discussed possibly purchasing, we were able to come up with the money to be able to make the down payment out of that account.
And we still have $81,000 to cover any.
We're still in good shape with that account as of right now, yes, sir.
That's a budgeted amount, that's not a, we don't have that money in hand.
Correct.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Simpson, second by trustee Lemire. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
I just want to speak one more thing, just to, I'm not sure how much you know of that 700 fund, but I set up a fund for us to use to buy capital equipment. That is best to run it through there so it doesn't skew your regular budgets. So that was something that the New York State recommends, to kind of run that through a separate capital project, or whenever you buy big things, run it through a separate fund. So I did that. Number two, DPW superintendent is looking to transfer $11,250 from the refuse fund contingency account, which is the 1990 account, to the refuse equipment account for the purchase of containers.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Carvel, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Lemire. Discussion?
These containers are larger containers for like commercial.
Yes, well, for all refuse. We have zero in stock, and we actually have a new customer that is waiting, and we didn't have any. So I looked at getting new ones, and price was very high, and the wait time was unrealistic. So I was able to find an outfit in Burlington, Vermont, that had some used ones. And like on an 8-yard new one, it's about $3,000. I can get them for $900.
Oh,
So quite a savings.
You're only putting garbage in them, right?
That's right. All we gotta do is put a little, probably freshen up the paint on them and, see a blue and a decal, and we're good to go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The last one is the DPW superintendent requesting to transfer $700 from the general fund contingency account, which is the same thing, the 1990 account, to the maintenance of streets equipment account for the increase in price of a new paint machine.
so moved.
Moved by trustee Lemire, second by trustee Simpson. Questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Committee reports. Code enforcement.
So Foreman Hardy has been continuing his work on the food truck code. Trustee Carvo and I have a draft that he sent. We're gonna look at that as well. The ideal calendar situation in my mind, and I checked with the administrator, would be for us to have this on the agenda next month as a discussion item with the possibility of setting a public hearing for the following meeting. So that would give about a month wiggle room on your proposed timeline, just in case something comes up.
Yep, that'd be perfect.
Great. Economic development.
Nothing.
Nothing to report. Fire committee.
Other than that, nothing to report.
Personnel.
I think I mentioned it earlier. A couple of interviews with DPW.
Police.
Nothing to really report, there is an item later on in the agenda, unless the chief has something he would.
Nope, I have nothing, thank you.
Rec.
Attended the rec meeting, the dog training was halfway through, there's about 20 dogs there, so. Breast cancer tournament was Saturday and Sunday. Frog jumping contest, Ryder Peach was the winner. We had the boss frog, I guess, call it. about 38 contestants there. The tennis courts are completed. There's 4 pickleball courts and 1 tennis court there now in that area. It's locked up. You get a key from the recreation arena there if you want to play pickleball. Youth soccer, they're in week 2 now. There's 556 kids there, plus there's 20 pre-K.
Wow.
I don't know who's coaching them or whatever. but-
God bless them.
God bless them. That runs for about 7 weeks. They had a good softball playoffs, a lot of teams. Next week it'll be the senior men's. Indoor lacrosse, they had a game a couple weeks ago. Next 2 Saturdays, they have a travel league, which is Saturday gone by and next Saturday. Summer rec is now done. They had large numbers this year, good turnout. They hope to have the ice in by October 1st, right after the train show is done. Seems like the train show is the last event to be held at the arena before the ice comes in. And the agreement with NIPA, 10-year relicensing, is they're working on that.
Marty, does the village have a sweeper, like say for grass fields and such, you know, clippings and stuff? We used to a long time ago. I was just curious if we still did. I'll tell you where I'm going with this in a second.
I don't have to say, I don't,
Okay.
I know what you're talking
We
about.
used to have a leaf plucker,
Okay,
the thing they told it behind the thing, that little
Yeah.
rubber fingers.
Finger, had the fingers.
Well, it kind of got a little worn out.
that's what I was thinking.
They were trying to buy a new one. They don't even make them anymore because universities and people, companies that have a large area, they can't afford anymore for the personnel, for the labor, to clean up leaves. So what most of them are doing now is chopping the leaves in the fall time. So
The reason why I was asking is because and no one's called my office and complained, but a few people have mentioned, and it's a common problem that we have, goose poop. And I was just thinking, if you had those sweepers, if we could loan it to the rec department to run over their fields, a few people have mentioned it to me, and I said, no, I can ask, we used to have something like that, but I was just curious, and you were talking about the thing that I remembered.
Yeah.
I should have recognized that was 30 years ago, so, we don't have, okay, just curious, thank you. Rescue squad, neither Mr. Simpson or I could attend the meeting. Anything special, Aaron?
Nothing to add at this time. Still busy.
Yeah. Street committee and water sewer.
Sure. So probably one of the busiest times of the year for Marty and his crews. They've been out paving, milling, hot patching, you name it, some sidewalk repairs. Street committee is going full force, which is always great to see because they have a very limited window with our summer and fall time frame. So in terms of water and sewer, they installed a 10-inch valve on East Hatfield Street near Riverside Apartments. They've been digging and replacing curb boxes and stems. They also installed a new 10-inch water main on
East
another
Hatfield.
portion of East Hatfield, which is the other one. Doing stakeouts, they've been flushing valves, so everyone's staying nice and busy, which we always know they do a great job, especially this time of year, so we
Yeah.
thank them.
Those streets are looking, you go by, see one in Stoughton, of course, what's the other one, Churchill, Rosebriar, those look, I know there's just a rough coat on top of them, but what a difference already, they look great, thank you. Okay, initial public comment period, anyone wishing to address the board? Okay. Seeing none, on to old business. And this is a proposed resolution to adopt and implement revised Village of Massena Personnel Policy Manual in regard to vehicle usage. So So I'll entertain a motion before we get discussion on it.
So,
Moved by trustee Simpson, second.
second.
Second by trustee Revere. Discussion, it's passed out, you guys have some of the changes, just to kind of give basically, what's gonna happen is only the vehicles allowed to go home would be with the chief, lieutenant, and 3 detectives. Vehicles a little bit farther out of town just need approval by the mayor. Accuracy and mileage, refueling. Any vehicles used during the day should not leave the village. If they do have to go for business, they're to be made, the village administrator is to be made aware. Should not be used for personal business and so forth, and all the things that we've discussed, so forth. Questions, discussion, comments?
What was the component about just outside town approval for mayor?
So like, I know the committee had recommended that certain vehicles that are farther than, I think it was 10 miles outside of town, you know, because people live 10 miles outside of town, they just need permission from the mayor, so.
Of these allowed?
Yes, of the allowed
Okay.
ones, yes.
Gotcha.
And also, in terms of the DPW, I said that, you know, if we know a major event is coming, whether it be a large snowstorm or a large ice storm like in 98, that, you know, Marty would have the discretion to let those guys take that home, knowing that they're probably gonna have to come right in at some point. Again, that would be up to Marty, and he would just let the village administrator know that that was going to happen.
And that's a large scale, not just every winter storm, right?
Correct. Correct.
I'd just like to comment on this. I brought this up like 13 years ago on this board, and I brought it up last time, but when we decided, we are talking about the board as a majority, decided a while ago to lease vehicles. One of the comments was we're going to lease those vehicles to improve employee morale. Now, you're going to leave one department with vehicles and strip all the other departments with vehicles. I wonder how that's going to work for the morale of people. You know, to me, it's an all or nothing type thing. We're not unique here in Massena, New York. We're not so different than any other community in this county. And for years and years, the DPW was the red-headed stepchild. It was always, if you needed an extra 10,000, you just took it out of the DPW, because that's the easiest one that you could do. I think they've suffered the blunt of it for enough years. So if you're not gonna take them all, don't take any. That's my opinion, because you're not accomplishing anything by going halfway. Do all or nothing.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mark.
What are the figures, what are you looking at as numbers that you think you're gonna save by these vehicles not going home?
As it was told to me, the biggest concern with the board was liability. That's what everyone harped on us the entire time. And now we're not concerned about liability?
So I'm definitely concerned about liability. And to answer your question with this new enterprise agreement, I believe if I looked at them, June, I think is the most recent fuel report, there was 1,200 miles put on vehicle. If you eliminate even half of that, that's in a month. So 600 miles over 12 months, looking at about 7,200 miles. Over 3 years, you're almost at 25,000 miles. What is the equity increase in that vehicle when it goes back to the enterprise? That's what you're looking at for savings. If we didn't do the lease agreement, maybe there's a tiny bit more wiggle room in there, but the moment they went with the lease agreement, equity became the name of the game. because the savings is all dependent on the equity, and I won't go down that road for the 10th time, but it was a flawed number that inflated the savings, in my opinion, so there's not as much there to grab, so we have to make sure that the savings exist somewhere, otherwise it backfires as a plan. But liability for me is still number one.
But do you think now that the increased overtime isn't going to outweigh that?
What increased overtime?
Well, the foreman right now don't turn in, I mean, if they get called in without a vehicle, will they be on, I mean, what's the agenda now? Is it a 3-hour call-in like everybody else, or, you know, have you guys?
Whatever the contract dictates.
I mean,
Because they're basically dispatchers 24/7. Okay, so they're on call.
Yep.
So now they're not gonna have a vehicle. They're not gonna be able to go and to the scene and say, okay, I can take care of it myself, you're only getting charged an hour. Now they're gonna have to go to DPW, get a vehicle, go to the scene, then dispatch. Now you wasted, you know, time.
What you
But I'm just looking,
described,
I'm just saying, though, that's.
Isn't that
if-
10 minutes?
No, but I'm saying, if he comes in, he's only in there for half an hour, he's gonna get, if it's 3 hours, he's gonna get 3 hours. Where before, he was turning in an hour.
This hasn't changed. They get paid whatever they're contractually obligated to get paid. Whether or not they have to take an extra 10 minutes to go to DPW and pick up a village vehicle is irrelevant to how much they get paid. How much they get paid is determined by their collective bargaining agreement or their employment agreement. So I don't understand how this changes the payout.
Well, because I think, they're dispatching 24/7 is what I'm saying to you.
Correct.
Okay, so,
And you're correct,
So-
that we're adding a task onto them. They now
right,
have to
and
go
they're,
to
and they're not being
DPW.
compensated for that task, is what I'm saying to you.
The moment they get to DPW. If I get called into work right now, we need you, I'm not hourly, but if I was, the moment I get to work, my commute doesn't count. For a normal worker, you don't get paid for your commute.
I'm saying right now, with a vehicle at home, they're dispatching from home. If they know the situation and they don't have to go, then they call in a crew to go address the situation.
But if they know it from home, what difference does what vehicles in the parking lot or the driveway of their home make? You're contradicting what you just said. They're dispatching from home. So I call them, oh, it sounds like you need blah, 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 call in X. It's irrelevant what vehicle's sitting in the driveway. If they're able to dispatch from home, they're able to dispatch from home. If they're not able to dispatch from home, they hop in their vehicle, drive to work like every other American, get in a village vehicle, and go and see what needs to be done. It's 10 minutes added on. You can make those facial expressions all you want. We have a responsibility to taxpayers, not to do what's most convenient for employees. Treat employees fairly, pay them fairly and well, but to say we're gonna send vehicles home with everyone, just in case, is ridiculous in my opinion. But I will be voting for this. I do think we could go further, but I'm a big believer in not letting perfection be the enemy of progress. So I think this moves us in the right direction, so when we vote, I will vote for it.
anybody else?
Yeah, I have a quick question as well. We also discussed at one point when we were collecting data and putting together our findings, we talked about revisiting the policy, seeing how good the policy's actually working, making tweaks to it. I just wanted to make sure to throw that out there too, that
Oh, definitely, I think
it's a work in progress. It's certainly not.
Continuous improvement.
Right.
any change, I think it's only smart to take a look at it, so at least, at most, I guess you could say 6 months from now,
Right.
if not sooner. Anything else? It's a proposed resolution, so it has to be a roll call vote. Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Carl?
No.
Trustee Levere?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion carries. And we will revisit it would say within 6 months. One thing that did come up when we talked about, so the police chief, the lieutenant, and the investigators, the idea was, would they need to have you need to file something with the IRS. Kevin did some research and come to find out they are exempt from that.
We don't know for sure, that was.
No.
We don't know for sure?
That was a
No.
quick glance, and I
And
found
that
it.
was, that was from 2007, the article that
Okay.
he cited. I did do a little bit of research, but it's tough to understand it on the IRS website, so I have to do a little bit more digging.
If it gets muddled, let me know and we can have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the language you put in works beautifully.
Yeah, but
You know, may apply.
that covers us.
Yeah, I
Make
did
sure
my own
everyone
research.
knows it may
I
apply.
did my own research as well, and I found that we were exempt. That was pretty current. But I do think that there is something in there that states if they do, obviously it'd be violating policy, if they do use it for personal use, it'd be violating policy, but it's their responsibility to basically disclose that on their taxes, and if they don't, they're committing tax evasion.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty heavy thing for somebody to get involved in.
Yeah.
So, and my guys know this,
Okay,
I reviewed it with them.
we'll still.
Yeah.
might have-
We
still have
should
McCarty look
have
at it.
McCarty look
Yeah.
into that, but
Okay.
I'm not an attorney, but yeah.
But I play one on TV.
Are some of these vehicles in the employee contracts?
No, they were only in the policy.
No, they were, so it referenced in the collective bargaining agreement, well, no, not the CBAs, the agreements that XYZ, or they would have an the right to use a take-home vehicle at their exclusive use or whatever. It refers back to, but pursuant to section 408 or whatever.
So it references the applicable.
Yeah.
But it's not in the upsuit.
No, I was,
Right, so it's not in the investigator's contract, but it is in the administrator, or,
the
Right.
management
Management
contract.
It says
Yeah.
referencing that
Yep.
specific part of the policy.
Yes.
Okay, on the new business, a proposed resolution to renew the liability insurance and risk management services through Arthur J. Gallagher and Company. That'll be from September 1 to September 1 of 2023.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Levere,
Second.
second by trustee Carl. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. It's a proposed resolution.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Carl.
Aye.
Trustee Levere.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Next, a proposed resolution to authorize the appropriation of funds for branding and identity proposed by H3 Designs for 2022 and 2023.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Levere, second.
Second.
By trustee Simpson. Discussion? Seeing none, it's.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's this budgeted?
It is in our budget. I remember, you sure?
There's $5,000 budgeted in the publicity and $2,500 in the chamber.
Have
Then it
we
was
used-
publicity. I remember we had the discussion during budgeting.
But there's only 5,000 there. Is this 8,000?
So where should we take the 3,000 from?
Contingency.
Okay.
But is this, I'm assuming this is 8,000 for 1 year.
Correct.
Okay, so then you, yeah, you.
It is a third of the contract cost that the contract that the town has with
Okay, so you
H3
can take
Designs.
out a contingency.
Okay,
So make that part of the,
make that part of the resolution.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Actually, we should,
We'll do a second.
give me an amendment to the resolution, taking it from contingency somewhere.
So I move for the resolution and for the movement of $3,000 from contingency to the appropriate line to cover this expense.
That's the amendment to the resolution. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Simpson. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Now back to the regular proposed resolution. Any other discussion on the amended resolution? Seeing none, trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Carl,
Aye.
trustee Levere.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. You. Next, we need a motion for the resignation of Marissa Brock as a police dispatcher.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
trustee Lemire, second by trustee Carvel. Discussion? I'd like to thank Marissa for her time served. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And finally, the authorization to canvass for a new police dispatcher.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Lemire, second by trustee Carvel. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Voucher warrants.
I move that the voucher warrant signed by Mayor Paquin, trustee Winston, and myself be approved.
Second.
Second by trustee Lemire. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Monthly reports, anything from the firefighters and code? Code's been busy, they've been doing a great job. As have the fire department, of course. We already went through the rescue squad, and we did the branding and identity resolution, so we're all good there, thank you. Any communications, correspondence, Monique?
No.
No? Closing comments, anyone? Seeing none. I do have a need for an executive session to talk about contractual language regarding insurance, to talk about an employee's contractual status, and also to talk about payment of individuals in DPW regarding sidewalk work. There will not be any, anything done after.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Lemire, second by trustee Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye.
We go to executive session.